Welcome to Lose Lips, all the things you wanted to say but didn't know how to say it. Today's topic is what is it to be an American today? Now, I wanted to bring this topic up because of the concern I see our country going. The past couple of years have been a shock, and I'm not sure what the cause has been, but I will admit I saw the shift when Trump was elected, and even more of a shift once the pandemic hit. Being an American today means different things to different people, depending on their background, identity, values, and belief. Some of the possible ways to answer my question are being American today should mean living your life by example, showing others how we must work together, rich or poor, whatever your race, Republican or Democrat, Jew, Muslim, Buddhist, or Christian. But when is the last time we saw this in effect, where different races were treated as equals, different social economic views were respected or even embraced, where we lent a helping hand for the disadvantaged? Being an American today should mean being part of a diverse tapestry of cultures, beliefs, and experiences. And the more diversity we experience as a collective group, the more we'll learn about the world, but more importantly, ourselves. But when has this been present when we see more violence against different races and religions? Being American today should mean being able to have religious freedoms, freedom of speech, and equal opportunities to succeed, regardless of who you are and what you stand for, without the fear of persecution. But why are we persecuting and looking down on people for expressing their views on topics when that is what our own Constitution stands for? Being an American today should mean being proud of the country and its history, but also being aware of its flaws and challenges. It means striving to make it a better place for everyone, not just for oneself. When is the last time we saw humanity going out of its way to make a better place for all, whether we are currently here or the people that want to come here and cross our borders? Being an American today should mean being welcoming, caring, and about other people, being forgiven, and not holding grudges. It also means making a change and making good changes. Yet we are looking to block borders and prevent people from entering who have witnessed horrors in their own country and are looking to come here to make a better life for themselves and their families. Being an American today means living in a post truth world where facts are often ignored or distorted in favor of political agendas. It means being exposed to a constant stream of misinformation and lies, and having to be vigilant and critical about the sources and motives of the information we consume. Being an American today should mean being part of a diverse and multicultural society where people of different races, ethnicities, religions, genders, and sexual orientations coexist and contribute to the common good. It means being respectful and tolerant of the differences and similarities among us, and celebrating the richness and variety of our cultures. Yet we now have laws going into effect banning books and freedoms in Florida and other states on sensitive subjects, or even banning transgender communities and LGBTQ communities. Being an American today means being faced with many challenges and opportunities, both at home and abroad. It means being aware of the global issues that affect us all, such as climate change, terrorism, human rights, and trade. It should mean being responsible and engaged as citizens who participate in the democratic process and seek to make positive changes in our communities and the world. Yet we are so divided among ourselves, communities, and within our own parties. There is no definitive answer to when Americans became so divided, as the country has always faced various sources of conflict and disagreement throughout its history. However, some possible factors that have contributed to the current state of polarization are the rise of the two party system, which has created a winner take all mentality and zero sum game between Democrats and Republicans. This has made compromise and cooperation more difficult and has increased the ideological distance between the parties. Since when was it all about win or lose? Whatever happened to a legitimate compromise, give and take? When did all of this selfishness take place and enter our own democratic system? The changing nature of capitalism, which has created winners and losers in the global economy, this has widened the gap between the rich and the poor and has increased the resentment and distrust among different groups of Americans. What happened to helping the poor or even charitable giving? Where has our sense of direction gone, where we care so much of ourselves and ignore the plights of others? The fragmentation of the media landscape, which has enabled people to consume information that confirms their existing biases and views. This has reduced the exposure to diverse perspectives and opinions and has increased the spread of misinformation and propaganda. Fox News is actually guilty of this, and I am sure there are other media that are as well. But as a public venue, keep your opinions to yourself. State the facts and allow and trust the American people to make their own judgments. Why are we so angry? There is no simple or definitive answer as to why Americans are so angry now, as there are many possible factors and causes that contribute to the current state of anger and frustration in the country. However, some of the common themes and explanations are the pandemic caused a lot of stress, anxiety, fear, and uncertainty for many Americans, which has increased their anger and resentment towards others. The pandemic also disrupted the normal routines and activities of many people, such as work, school, socializing, and travel, which has reduced their happiness and satisfaction. The pandemic threw us all into uncharted territory. There were winners and losers, but this is not the reason for such a division. The political system has become more polarized and divided, which has made it harder for people to cooperate and compromise with each other. Many Americans feel frustrated, entitled, and judgmental towards those who have different opinions or beliefs from themselves. They also feel powerless and distrustful of the government and the media, which they perceive as being controlled by powerful insiders or elites. Our government is not taking their constituents in stride. The politicians are leaning towards their own agendas and are leaving the people to the side. This is not what a democracy is about. The politicians of today care more for themselves and lining their own pockets instead of helping the very people that voted them in there. I have never witnessed such a dysfunctional government in these latest years. Shady deals being done by politicians, bringing in family and appointing them to heads of cabinets or even being on a committee and dealing with this with no oversight. And speaking of which, why is there not an investigation into Jared Kushner, who signed a $1 billion deal with the Saudis? If no one else sees something wrong with this is there is some serious oversight going on with this one. There is no oversight or control over our government anymore. You have freaking Justice Clarence Thomas taking gifts and he sees nothing wrong with it, and he is on the Supreme Court. Where are our oversights? And when do we say enough is enough? The social and cultural changes have created more diversity and complexity in the American society, which has challenged the identity and values of some groups of Americans. Some people feel threatened or marginalized by the increasing presence and influence of people who are different from them in terms of race, ethnicity, religion, gender, or sexual orientation. They also feel angry or resentful towards those who they perceive as being favored or privileged by the system. And let's face it, there is a certain amount of favoritism going on in our system. If I didn't know any better, I would say our society is moving backwards. So much progress in the latter years that we are now moving back to when abortion is illegal, segregation is tolerated, discrimination is commonplace, and the middle class is becoming non existent. Where are the values that this country stood on? It used to be that this was a place where people could come and make their dreams come true. But lately, the poor have increased, homelessness has increased, drugs are rampant, tolerance has dissipated, politicians have gotten greedy, and there is no oversight of what anyone has and can and will do anymore. It is a free for all. What is it going to take for society to say, this is not what we need or want? It used to be that other countries wanted to visit the great and vast United States, but now there are warnings that our gun laws are out of control, there are too many mass protests and civil unrest, discrimination is inevitable, and it is not deemed safe to come to this country. Just think about what I just said. The land of dreams is not safe for people to enter. This is not what America is about, or even what Americans should be or strive to be. Where and when did we lose ourselves and stop caring and have the me mentality if we as Americans don't rise up and take back the values that this country stood on? Then we as a society are going to only grow more divided, creating resentment and inciting something that we have not seen in 200 years. We need to get back to that place. Stop electing politicians that only have their own vested interest at heart and ignore the people. Create a time limit on the Supreme Court justices. Rotate them out so that our country will stand for the laws that are in our Constitution. Get out and vote more so that our voices are heard and create an environment and posture familiarity so that everyone is included and feels included. These are dangerous times and are only going to get worse. But when you have a state that is preventing certain teachings and banning books of demographic importance, or even states that are not willing to recognize women's rights, you have set a precedence. We are not moving forward as a society. We are moving backwards into a repressive society. What was once a great country where we thought we had the freedom of expression, freedom of rights, and freedom for all has turned into suppression. Is that what we really want? Is that what it means to be an American today? Think about it and act on it before it's too late. Thanks for listening to Lose Lips. Until the next time.